He's called the wonder kid of Austrian politics, and at just 31 years old, Sebastian Kurz seems to be living up to his reputation. His Conservative Party has just emerged from elections as the largest in parliament, which means Kurz is expected to become the youngest head of state in Europe once he negotiates a coalition partner.
Der heutige Tag ist ein historischer. Der heutige Tag ist unsere Chance, die Führung in diesem Land zu übernehmen und für echte Veränderungen in Österreich zu sorgen. Vielen Dank euch dafür.
It was Kurz's baby face that fronted the People's Party, or OVP. He made his name as the world's youngest foreign minister, and much of his popularity is based on his tough line against immigration. But his critics say he's aligned his party's policies with the far-right Austrian Freedom Party. They have also made significant gains.
Damit bin ich nicht einverstanden.
The election result is not entirely acceptable because the Freedom Party might get into the government. That worries me. I don't like that.
The victory by Kurz's OVP suggests the far right has again proven itself relevant in Europe. It has also made substantial gains in Hungary, Italy and the Netherlands. President Emmanuel Macron's victory in France had led to hopes that a wave of anti-immigrant policies had ebbed. But the Austrian elections have shown the far right still has broad appeal. It's something that remains troubling for the European Union's leadership, and particularly for Germany.
Auf der anderen Seite ist die relativ starke FPÖ natürlich eine große Herausforderung, auch für die politischen Kräfte in Österreich. Der Wahlkampf war sehr hart geführt insgesamt und ich denke, wir warten jetzt die Regierungsbildung ab und dann werden wir natürlich auch gerade auf der europäischen Bühne hoffentlich gut miteinander zusammenarbeiten.
But will that also include a prominent role for the far right? Shoaib Hassan, the Newsmakers.
Well, joining me now from Vienna is Christoph Matznetter. He is the Federal Party Secretary for the Social Democratic Party of Austria. And also from Vienna is Begum Gordu. She is an expert on minority and women's rights at the NGO Aliter. Thanks both so much for joining us. Unlike their counterparts in France and the Netherlands, Austrians voted to embrace their right-wing politicians. Had it not been for the issue of immigration, Christoph, let me start with you. Would Sebastian Kurz be the chancellor-in-waiting of Austria right now?
The situation was there that the young new leader from the Austrian People's Party, the Conservative Party, Sebastian Kurz, has shifted the position of the Conservatives. They have since the last year, beginning and starting with the election campaign, bringing the same politic like the FPO, the Freedom Party from the right wing. So the decision was relatively clear. In the election from last Sunday, about 58 to 60% of the Austrian voters has voted for a little bit xenophobic policy, embracing motions like Islamophobic motions, fear from refugees, fear from migrants. And this is one of the main points for the success of Mr. Kurz.
But also, I have heard certain Austrians say that the opposition, your party, the Social Democratic Party of Austria, was not strong enough, and in a sense, helped lift Kurz to victory.
Certainly, there are many reasons for this. There was problems in the electoral campaign of my party, the Social Democrats. This was certainly has a little bit impact on this question, but at the end of the day, it was a clear decision. Two parties, every time speaking about the problems with the migrants and refugees and other peoples coming to Austria, have success with plus more than 5% for the Freedom Party, for the extreme right, and more than 7 to 8% for the People's Party. So it was clear at the end of the day, there was a decision of the Austrian population. They want a policy from now which will be more in distance to the people coming to Austria, and it's complete different to the position of the Federal Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel.
Okay. Let me ask Begum Gordu the same question. Do you think it had more to do with a weaker opposition or more to do with the issue of immigration that Sebastian Kurz and the far-right parties spoke so strongly against?
I think the election result in Austria is the latest indication for the very sharply right shift in Europe in general. And I think what we don't have to forget is that the normally center-left Social Democratic Party in Austria also turned to the right. So, like all parties in Austria, during the coalition with the People's Party. And I hope that they will turn back to the roots of social democracy, so the Muslim minority has the option for a strong ally in the parliament.
Let me get what you make of that, Christoph. Did the socialists, in a sense, pander to the xenophobic tendencies of some of the Austrian public? Go ahead.
Certainly, we was trying to bring other topics in the electoral campaign, especially the social question, the question of taxation, and all the other unemployment situation. But on the end of the day, it was clear that you cannot cover up this question of migrants and refugees. The topic is there, and the population want to talk about this. And it's true, also the Austrian Social Democrats was in the government in the last year, was trying to find solution to reduce the fear of the population. For example, with a new Islam legislation with restriction also for the association in the country, the NGOs. But at the same time, the topic was present in the population, and it was not possible to cover up. So it's clear that the election result from the last Sunday changed the country, and it will be harder for the people here living here. We have hundreds of thousands of people with migration background, many of them coming from Turkey, or their parents coming from there, and their living and working situation will not be better after this result in the elections.
Okay, Begum Gordu, in seeing that, you feel, in a sense, all political parties were responsible for pandering to the anti-immigrant sentiment that is prevalent through several parts of Europe right now. Do you fear now that Sebastian Kurz, going forward, will continue along those lines? Are you expecting to see an even further rise in Islamophobia and xenophobia to the point that it will actually change Austria's political policies?
Mm-hmm. I myself, as an activist for minorities in general and for the Muslim minority here in Austria, which is the biggest religious minority in Austria, we don't have to forget this. I am also concerned about the harsh politics, which was mentioned, towards the Muslim institutions and the laws concerning the headscarves, which exclude Muslim women from the job market, despite good education, but also exclude them from society. And I think not only the far-right parties in Austria did this campaigning of Islamophobia and instrumentalized the Muslim community and minority here in Austria, but also, as I mentioned before, all other parties as left parties also, and also the Social Democratic Party. And I want to say it again, it's very important for the Muslim minority to have an ally in the parliament, to have a voice against this Islamophobia and to combat this Islamophobia in Austria with the Muslim community.
Okay. I'd like to turn, if we can, to the role that Austria might be playing in the European Union going forward. Christoph, let me start with you. Do you think the real influence of Austrian politics in the context of the European Union has been slightly underestimated? I mean, we in the foreign press perhaps should take some responsibility, because we seem to pay a lot more attention to the French election, for example, much less to the Austrian election. And now many are saying the Austrians will prove very influential in the European Union in its way forward. What do you think?
It was first the position of Austria as a little bit a spokesman for the Balkan situation and Eastern countries. But however, after the political change in Warsaw in Poland or with Mr. Orban in Hungary, Austria is the first Western country. If this country change position and make more a position like the government in Warsaw or Budapest, this will change the political position of the whole European Union. It will be the big question to Mr. Kurz in the next time, if he is willing and able to hold the liberal and open policy line in the European Union. And it was also important that our federal president, Mr. van der Bellen, yesterday expecting a government with a proposal to not change the pro-European policy and so more open and liberal policy Austria's in the European Union. I hope this will be also the situation after building of the new government.
Because do you think Sebastian Kurz will move toward an exit of the EU? That may be a bit extreme. He's never really spoken on those terms prior. But do you think that may change, especially if he goes into coalition with a far-right party?
No, I don't think so. In reality, the Austrian People's Party cannot shift 180 degrees their position. And even the Freedom Party has given signals they don't want a referendum decision like the Brexit decision in the UK. And the last point is, there is a big majority in the Austrian population that don't want an exit from the European Union, so I don't see the risk for the moment.
Okay, Begum, does that give you a sense of comfort in any way, knowing that that doesn't seem to be on the agenda for this new leadership going forward, and that at least Austria being part of the EU, minorities may have a stronger and clearer voice through EU laws?
Yes, I think we have to mention that Austria has a culture of this welcome state and of an open-minded culture, and I hope that this will be the future too. And I don't think that Sebastian Kurz will have any plans to leave the EU or something like that. I have nothing to add to that.
But does it, I'll ask again, does it give you at least a sense of comfort there that Austria will not completely go in its own direction?
Not really. We cannot be sure of that because, as I mentioned before, in whole Europe there is this sharp shift to the right, and so we have to see this as a problem of whole Europe. Yeah.
Okay.
And yes.
Okay, Christoph, let me ask you, in hindsight now, and seeing that the direction not only Austria has moved in, but some of its European counterparts, do you think immigration, particularly the issue of immigration, could have been managed better in Austria in order to avoid having elevated these far-right parties today?
Yeah, Shirley, the problem was also that after the big wave of refugees in the year 2015, there is now a complete concentration in the urban regions, in the cities. And it was interesting also in the election results that the biggest shift to the right wing was on the countryside, where there is not only a few people with migration background or with refugee background. So the fear was bigger in this population circle that have no contact with the people coming from other countries. And in Vienna, where we have a huge concentration, even in the urban regions of Vienna, where there's the highest concentration, there was a completely different result in the elections. There was my Social Democratic Party who has won the race in this field. So I'm a little bit optimistic that in living together, in working together, in understanding each other, there will be a better situation also in the opinion of the population, and so we can turn this result in elections in 5 years.
Okay, Begum, do you share that sense of optimism at all at this point?
Yes, I share because I also think that having no contact with migration or with minorities is the thing we have to change. Yeah, we have to change this or have to stabilize this problem in society together with the Muslim community. And as mentioned before, in Vienna there was the Social Democratic Party winning, and here in Austria we say Vienna is different. So we saw it again.
Okay, we're down to our last minute or so. So Christoph, I'd like to ask you on a slightly more political note. Kurz, as we know, is an intelligent man, but he lacks some of the hardcore, real political party experience, given he's only 31. It's an experience that far-right leader Heinz-Christian Strache does have. As coalition partners, how do you see their power leadership dynamic actually playing out?
Yeah, this is a little complicated, the question. However, Mr. Kurz was 7 years in the Austrian government, so it's a long time of experience, even with 31 or 32 years old. However, I think he has seen the success way of Viktor Orban in Budapest. There was also the discussion in the television between him and Mr. Strache, where both of them was talking who is the better friend of Mr. Orban. So we are not quite sure if he wants to be the serious conservative politic man for the future, or if he wants to be the big pop star like Viktor Orban in Hungary. You will see what the future will bring. I cannot do prognostic in the personal view and in the personal intentions of Mr. Kurz.
Okay, fair enough. Christoph Matznetter, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us there from Vienna, as well as Begum Gordu, also from Vienna. Thank you both so much for talking to us on this edition of the Newsmakers.